What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Ballard here, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you live tonight here on a Tuesday night, December 28th, 2021. This year almost over. We're looking forward to the new year in 2022. Me personally, can't wait to see what God has in store. I apologize for being late on this one, a conversation with my grandmother. So I kind of lost track of time or whatever, but I apologize. But we're here now. This is two-man Pigskin. And what would this be without, well, I guess two-man, not two men, two-man. Oh, good boy. What's up?
What's up? You sure it ain't three man? Nothing
Hold on.
crazy.
Pablo didn't get the text.
Yeah.
I don't
What a
know.
disgrace, man. Can you believe this? The SEC is 0-4 in bowl games, man.
Okay.
Look, if I was a
Yeah.
betting man, I literally would have said Mississippi State would have beat Texas Tech, but they got slammered 34-7. Woo. Thanks for coming to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, look, I don't know what the heck has been going on with the SEC. I mean, look, some teams have had up and down seasons. I could understand if maybe you start out like, okay, the first SEC bowl game and we're going to take a loss. Okay, well, first off, it's now 0-4 because Mike Leach, Mr. Bigfoot, they call him, a pretty good season with Mississippi State 7-5. Makes a bowl game, makes a Liberty Bowl. And when you look at it, man, did you watch the game tonight with Texas Tech and Mississippi State?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's talk about this Mississippi State game here for a second. 34-7, Texas Tech beats the Bulldogs. And look, there's some good players I think that Mississippi State has, but it's more on defense. And I'm just going to be honest, man. A lot of people expected them to come into this season, and I think 7-5 was reasonable record. But man, when the pressure's on them and everything, and they get into those certain situations, and they face one of those offenses like a Texas Tech, I don't want to say that they, just call it what it is. Mississippi State has lost their offense. They haven't really had it all year. Now, and I sit here and I'm kind of over this whole, I'd hate to blame the players. Well, at this point, man, what does it matter? I mean, the players are not performing well, plus coaching. And Mississippi State, you have Mike Leach was at Texas Tech. He was at Washington State, and now Mississippi State. He's had great quarterbacks, great running backs, great players, great offenses, and it just is not showing this year for the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, and clearly you saw that a factor tonight.
Yeah, well, look at this. If you go back and you go all the way back at Mike Leach's tenure at Texas Tech, which seems like forever ago, right? It seemed like with this air raid offense, it takes about 3, 4, maybe 5 years to get going. Same thing we saw at Wazoo with Washington State, right? Look, maybe it's going to take Mike Leach that much time to get the thing going. I don't know, but regardless of how you want to flip it, the fact of the matter is they got mollywopped by a team that was 6-6. Texas Tech had a 100-year. I almost said 100-year-old man. No, anyway, it was a 100-yard rusher. Look, I mean, they blisterated Mississippi State, and I mean, this to me was a bad performance by the Bulldogs for sure.
Do you think it was one of those where Mississippi State just didn't want to be there? Because I would not say, this was lack of motivation. No, come on, Mississippi State making a bowl game. This year, I think is very impressive for them. So, I mean, they had to go into this game like, we're hyped up, we're ready. And clearly, coaching-wise, they were not. I don't think Mike Leach is necessarily a bad hire for Mississippi State. I mean, he's only in year 2 or 3. I mean, he was hired alongside Lane Kiffin when he got hired at Ole Miss. But it makes you think, man, they got to up their recruiting game. and they got to find ways. Like I said, like their defense had some good moments in this game, but at the same time, man, they just couldn't find the offensive rhythm. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State wanted to be there. I honestly think Texas Tech was too much for them, especially the second half. They pretty much amped it up really in the third quarter, going into the fourth there, and the lead just kind of slowly got out of Mississippi State's reach as the time went on. And by that time, it seemed like, right after that muff punt there that
Yeah.
cost only Mississippi State 3 points, it only went downhill there because that was before halftime. And so, look, at this point, I think we can all agree that points, no matter if they got them on field goals or touchdowns, just flat out beat the Dogs tonight because Mississippi State, they just look, if you would have told me they were the SEC team that was going to lose today, I would have told you wrong. I thought Auburn had a better shot losing to Houston.
Yeah, I know.
Was I wrong?
And, you look at the stats too, like on paper, forget the scoreboard for a second because they only got one touchdown. That's bad. But look at this here. Look at the team stats. Okay, 3 turnovers. That's what killed them. I'd say this. 344 total yards offensively in a game for Mississippi State. That's not too bad. But when you play a team that's scoring about 500 yards in this game, that's an issue because there's a big difference there. But 344, that's not bad, but it's the opponent. Now, they did have 21 first downs, but Texas Tech had 24. Texas Tech also had more time of possession. The problem was, it was one of those where Mississippi State was able to drive the ball, I think, at times, and they were able to make some plays, but it just was not enough. And it makes you wonder where they're going to go now with Mike Leach. I'm not here to. I don't think he should be on the hot seat. I don't think it's like that, but he's got to figure out something, especially in the recruiting aspect, and compete with. You got to think Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Yeah, it's the Egg Bowl. You can get some recruits in the state of Mississippi, but it seems like all that talent's going to Ole Miss and Oxford. He's got to figure out a way to up his game there because the talent for offense right now in Mississippi is residing in Oxford with the Rebels. That's where the offense is. Now, the defense, right. Mississippi State's got that a little bit, but we're in this era where you have to have offense. Forget just the SEC. Dude, we're seeing offense all over college football now. It's not the old school days. And I don't think – I'm not going to sit here and say Mike Leach doesn't know that. I think he knows that, but he's got to find a way to step it up and get it turned around for Mississippi State.
Well, looking at Mike Leach's track record, like I said, usually it takes about 3 to 4 years for the air raid offense to come into where Mike Leach has really been successful. It's took him that long. And I think Mississippi State's a place where, of course, I don't think this is going to set well with them. I think they're going to have a chip going into the next season, especially after losing 2 straight there to Ole Miss and then tonight to Texas Tech. But with that being said, it's going to be a brand new year for next year. A lot of new stuff's going to happen. And I don't think he's on the hot seat by any means. I just think that, they need to pick it up starting next year, and hopefully it'll go in the right directions for Mississippi State. But, yeah, definitely disappointing in my eyes.
I would agree.
Yeah, and anytime you have 3 turnovers, you can hang it up. Any coach will tell you don't deserve to win.
Yeah. Shout out to the comments real quick. Let's give some shout outs. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube, of course, our good boy Jacob Watson says, rest in peace to John Madden. Absolutely. That was a tough loss. A great voice in the NFL. Of course, the Madden video game franchise and everything like that, named after him in his honor. That was a tough loss today. Nate the Great. Mississippi State lost 34-7 to Texas Tech. SEC 0-4. Yeah. And then Wilkie's in here. What's up, Wilkie? Good to see y'all. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Go subscribe to Ugga Boy. His channel link is in the description of the stream. Go check him out. Go say hello. He does a lot of great Georgia and college football content. And he's been doing a lot more recently, actually. Credit to you, man.
Yeah, there we go. Gotta try to put a lot of work in. Gotta pump up those subscribers, get more viewers, and put the content out for the people, and hopefully people will stick around. Right.
For sure, man. Now, well, there's a couple. There's like two other things I want to get into. I saw something on Instagram about the. It was like Red Cup CFB. I'll get to it later on, but before we get into that, let's not get too far ahead. We were talking yesterday on the phone, and even though we talk mostly college football, we want to talk all things football, including the NFL. Now, we saw a game yesterday on Monday Night Football. If you missed it, the Dolphins and the Saints, man, what did you see in this game here? 20-3, the Dolphins take out and by the way, first career start for Ian Book and the Saints. Now, we kind of talked on the phone. You said some things about how you really don't think he's that good. I said maybe you give him a little bit more time. But overall, man, what did you see in this game? Did you watch all of it, or what did you see in this game, especially from Ian Book's side of it, that they just could not, get the offense going with a new quarterback? And by the way, Jalen Waddle looked amazing for the Dolphins, and they are now on a win streak of 7.
Well, I mean, first of all, Ian Book came in, and I thought that he was going to outperform Tua. Right? That's a joke. No,
Yeah,
seriously,
that
Ian
was
Book,
wrong.
I figured he would be somewhat better than what he performed yesterday. To me, I don't want to say this team and that team has a disappointing, but it was a very disappointing outing. Ian Book's second pass was a pick six, if I'm not mistaken, or at least I know it was an INT. And
It
that's
was
not
a
how
pick
you want to
six, I
start your
believe.
NFL career.
Right.
I mean, it was just, I mean, to me, I don't know if he just got antsy and he never could settle down as the game went on. But I feel like that if the Saints had another available quarterback without two quarterbacks being on the COVID list, including Tyson Hill, I believe Ian Book would have been yanked, unfortunately. I just felt like he was struggling. They needed a spark. They needed something going on. And as much as I would love for Ian to sit here and say, hey, Ian Book did this and did that, to me, I just didn't see it. And that was disappointing, in my opinion. I've seen his post presser actually there with his little COVID mask on, and he was very quiet, and he answered the questions and stuff. But to me, you could tell it was written all over the wall. He was disappointed as well.
Yeah, and I got the stats up right here, by the way. I mean, you look at Ian Book now, and I'll throw Tua's up too. We'll compare them. 12 of 20 for 135 yards. You look at that, you're like, that's amazing for a guy who not he was great at Notre Dame. He was really, really good. Not a lot of people expect him to be that good in the NFL from what I've heard. I think he could do pretty well. Is New Orleans the right fit? And again, this was his first start. So, I mean, we can't judge him based on this. But I will say, outside of these two picks, man, 12 of 20 and over 130 yards throwing, 135. That's not bad for his first start. He just got a little shaky there at the beginning, but credit also. I mean, it just seems like the offensive line did struggle for New Orleans. Miami had great pass rush. I saw big man Christian Wilkins out there from Clemson, of course, so we remember him under Dabo Swinney a couple years ago. Big man making some stops, big man getting out there. The Dolphins have some good defense and some pass rush that has improved throughout the year. And clearly, this is just one of their better games. I mean, would you look at this like New Orleans Saints, even with Ian Book doing what he could, it just, they couldn't get the offense exactly right? Because, I mean, on one hand, I look at it like that, but I also think that the Dolphins, man, they had that pass rush that they were just able to get it going. And again, you look at Tua. So again, Ian Book, 12 of 20, 135 yards and 2 picks. Outside of the 2 picks, I think the stats are good. You would hope that he got his first career touchdown in this game. And then you got Tua Tagovailoa, 19 of 26, 198 yards, just shy of 200, a touchdown, and a pick. So I mean, clearly Tua had the better performance, obviously, with them getting the 20 points on offense compared to New Orleans 3. Only got a
But the
field goal.
offensive line didn't help Ian Book either, right? No running
That's
game.
true. That's what I
I
was
felt
getting at
you were
too.
you mentioned something about Waddle a while ago. I seen him. He can be the pass could be let's say it could be a little jet sweep or whatever, and and he could go for I don't know 4 or 5 yards if not more. But it seemed like the Saints it was just really tough sledding. No matter who they put in the backfield. It just wasn't happening. Unfortunately, it was
Right.
very disappointing show out for sure, especially since the game was in St. Louis. Or not
New
St. Louis,
Orleans.
excuse me,
New
Louisiana.
Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans. Yeah.
I got you there, buddy.
But yeah, so I
Yeah,
mean, it could have definitely been better. I mean, a lot of stuff could have happened. Obviously, that could have worked out maybe in Ian Book's favor, but it just didn't, and it just wasn't meant to be. And unfortunately, Miami
yeah.
brung the wood, and Tua and then was the better team.
Yeah, I think if you're New Orleans, I mean, look, you only lost by 17, which isn't. I mean, this wasn't like we gave up like 50 something and only scored three. I mean, it wasn't the biggest of blowouts, the worst of the performances. I think now, if the Saints defense had done a little better, and let's say Miami only got two touchdowns or maybe even only 10 points, and it was like the Georgia Clemson game 10-3, maybe the Saints feel a little bit better because it didn't give up as many points. But I mean, look, you lose it by 17, and especially at home. And the Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they clinch up a wild card spot, or they're like maybe a win away? I mean, they're a playoff team. So I mean, it's not like you lost to a bad scrub team. I mean, this is a team playing in a league with Bill Belichick and you got Josh Allen and the Bills, who are practically winning the East at this point. I think they've locked up the AFC East. So, I mean, it's not like the Saints had a bad performance against a bad team. I mean, they played a great Miami Dolphins team, and what Brian Flores has just done with this franchise this year is incredible. So, overall, when I look at this game, man, and I'll give your final thoughts on this too, I think that the Dolphins did what they had to do, and you saw a good defense, but also, man, if you're the Saints, you give props to Ian Book for his first game. I mean, he threw over 100 yards. He made some plays when he needed to, but also at the same time, I think the Dolphins brought the heat on him, and he just couldn't get it done overall.
Yeah, I pretty much think that Miami, they did a great job. They wanted it more. I think they owned the line of scrimmage and they just they wanted it more. I think that's what it boils down to. Saints couldn't get nothing going, and everything just fell in place for Miami.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that part. But anyway, that being said, I mean, we pretty much have covered this game here. I got one more topic. There's really not a whole lot for the show tonight unless you have anything. But
Well, I saw that real fast since we were talking about the NFL a little bit. Everybody knows about this Austin guy, the quarterback's coach for the Seattle Seahawks, going to
yes,
be the new OC at Auburn. Of course, they're waiting for him to his duties to end over there in Seattle. So he did not coach the bowl game for Auburn today. With that being said, I saw that LSU picked up a defensive coordinator from the Chiefs. I think he was the linebackers coach, if I'm not mistaken. Was it like Matt or Mac House? Something like that I saw on
I
the
think
bottom of the screen ESPN a while ago. So that was kind of new to me as well, Ballard.
yeah, man, and that's huge news for sure. Definitely, I mean, it's been a crazy week for Seattle. I'll tell you what.
Well,
Especially
real
with
fast,
Austin.
let's talk about this Auburn and Houston game and the couple of bowl games that you want to go around the table, if that's possible, real fast.
Yeah,
I don't want to touch too much on Auburn. Look, I mean, I wouldn't sit here and be lying to you if we said we didn't see this coming. We kind of had an idea. Houston, they only lost 2 games, went to the AAC championship game, played a really good game with Cincinnati, which is playing your Tide Friday. So, we knew that Houston, was a pretty good team. And, buddy, they brung the wood in Birmingham. But, man, that Protective Life Stadium, is that what it's called down in Beeham?
That's
It
the
looked
new one.
pretty yeah, it looked pretty sexy, didn't it?
Home of the UAB Blazers, man. It'd be cool to maybe go to a UAB game and check out the new stadium next year. I don't know. That you're in Alabama. We might have to set something up, man.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. But UAB, if they want me, no offense, to come down there, they're going to have to put up a better fight to my Bulldogs than what was it, a 56-7 whooping. So,
Yeah.
maybe, who knows? Maybe one day.
I'm gonna let you brought it up, man. But I watched it too. My grandfather and I just were like, we're not leaving to go back home to the lake until this game's over. But the Birmingham Bowl, Houston 17, Auburn 13, the final. I'm gonna actually let you take the lead on this one, man. What'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Houston I'll be honest with you, I thought coming into this game, actually, a lot of people, they thought Houston was going to blow Auburn out. And actually, Auburn, seemed like they settled down after Houston went up 7-0. And I think Houston still owned Auburn in the first half, but it looked like Auburn came to play in the second half. But at the end of the day, they say field goals sometimes just can't beat you. But I think at this point in time, I think that Auburn had the points. I think that late touchdown there, about 2 or 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, really cost the Tigers, because that right there seemed to be the nail in the coffin, so to speak, because Auburn couldn't rebound from there.
Yeah, and definitely a key difference too. Both of these teams had a hard time on third down on offense, but Houston kind of had the advantage there. They were 6 of 14 on third downs. They were 1 of 2 on fourth down conversions. Auburn was 1 of 3. I would say, let's see, 4 of 15 on third down for Auburn. And I mean, it was a close game on paper. But would you say like it's pretty accurate on paper how it looked in this game, or would you look at it and say maybe Houston kind of looked a little better, off the scoreboard? Because I mean, I really think that they kind of brought the heat a little bit on Auburn. Now Auburn, I mean, they did some things well. I mean, TJ Finley was 19 to 37, 227 yards and a touchdown. What I did notice, I mean, he did have quite a few incompletions. No picks. I mean, Auburn got a pick. I think they got a pick 6, if I'm not mistaken, off the quarterback Clayton Tune for Houston. But, I think TJ Finley had a great game. I mean, he had some moments though where he did try to force a throw here or there, and it was just incomplete, and it was a bit too much. Tank Bigsby, their running back, who I think is really, really good. He had 16 carries for 96 yards. He also led the team in receiving, 5 receptions for 68. That was the lead receiver of the game for Auburn was the running back, which that's not the issue. But when it's 5 receptions only for 68 yards, and you have a quarterback that attempted 37, there wasn't really a breakout receiver for Auburn. And also at times, man, there were moments like halfway through the game, early on in the game, where it just seemed like they were not catching the football the way they needed to catch the football.
Right, yeah, and then you talked about receivers a while ago. They mentioned a 5th-year guy. Actually, this was his 3rd school due to that transfer portal, and D-Rob, which a lot of guys remember them. Demetrius Robertson, he was at California. Didn't do much at Georgia. Yeah, he was at California, then he went to Georgia, and that didn't work out. So now he's trying to regroup himself, and he went to Auburn. He was a senior. That was his last game, so not the game that he wanted. I don't think he's actually had the last 5 years he's wanted, in my opinion. But, he was a highly talented recruit. And shout out to Jake Fromm's little brother, Tyler Fromm, the tight end. He had the long hair. I did not know that he was Jake Fromm's little brother until I actually looked that up. And because I'm like, Fromm, wait a second, Fromm.
He's from Warner Robins, right?
Yeah.
He's from Warner Robins, just like Jake is.
Absolutely. And he went to school there too. So that was really cool. And anyway, so Tyler Fromm, he tried to get in the rhythm. Never really worked out for him either. I think at the end of the day, Houston was just so much better. That first half, a lot better. Second half, I think Auburn closed the gap. But at the end of the day, they still couldn't stop Houston from scoring. And that's what ultimately gave the win to Houston.
Like I said, too, I mean, it was one of those where Houston got off to a hot start overall against Auburn in this game to begin with. And Auburn at halftime, I mean, of course, you have the interviews and coaches always say we just got to make some adjustments and we'll be okay. And they made the right adjustments, but I don't think they did enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, they did some things right. They picked it up. They were able to get off the field on third down in the second half at times. They outscored Houston. It was 7-0 at the end of the first. They each got a field goal. Okay, Houston's going to go up 13-3 at halftime. Scoreless third quarter for the Cougars. Auburn outscores them, though. They get 10 on the board. It's like, all right, okay, cool, right. So they take a lead. It's 13-10. But then they give up the touchdown late in the game, and Houston's able to see. You got to understand that too. Houston went up late in the game with like 3.5 left to play. They go up. Auburn's got a chance to go down and score. The pressure's on them just a little bit. They just can't get it. They can't get it done. They don't get the fourth down conversion. So it was one of those where, outside of the score, I really do think Auburn did some things okay. They just didn't. They were not able to close the game out the way they needed to get the win.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, there's a bowl game going on. So if you are listening to us, it's the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. West Virginia and Minnesota is scoreless with about 8 minutes to go in the first. So I don't know if we will keep you posted as the game goes along, but we hope you continue to tune in. So I mean, we've had some cancellation in bowl games, more cancellations. I mean, this is crazy with COVID. Oh no, are we reliving it in like 2020 all over again? One team, Ballard, that I'm really, really feeling sorry for their fan base is actually, I have two of them real fast, if you don't mind me sharing it. One of them was Boise State because COVID got Boise last year, so they didn't get to go bowling. This year, COVID got Boise. They are not going bowling after all. And 3 years ago, they didn't get to go to a bowl because they weren't bowl eligible. So that's pretty disappointing. And then, so I felt pretty bad, for Boise State. And then I started looking at the Holiday Bowl, which, by the way, got canceled. And then I saw NC State's bowl got canceled.
Yep.
And remember how the College World Series ended? What was it? COVID with NC State. Yeah. They were supposed to go, right? Well, now their bowl game got stripped from them due to COVID. So this is disastrous for the Wolfpack. Woo.
And, they were supposed to play a team in UCLA. Now, UCLA, let's not forget the start that they had to the season. I mean, it was 2 games, but man, that they won over a 16th ranked LSU, and they got in the rankings, and people started saying, they're looking pretty good. Week 3, they take a loss to Fresno State. Okay, first loss, shake it off. They go beat Stanford. Then they lose to Arizona State. They got 2 losses. They're not doing anything. But, that was one of those teams, too. Let's not forget the team they were going to play finished 8-4, second in the Pac-12 South, and they have quite a bit of great talent. One of the key guys, I think one of the better running backs, and I think he's draft eligible. I would say he's one of the top running backs in the draft and one of the better ones probably the best in the Pac-12, Zach Charbonnet. has 202 carries on the year, 13 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards rushing. They had some playmakers. UCLA was in this bowl game against NC State that got canceled in the Holiday Bowl. I feel kind of bad for them because, I mean, they got off to a start in the season we didn't expect. And even though they took some losses here, there, okay, you're not going to win the Pac 12. You're not going to make the title. You're not going to make the playoffs. But they have enough wins, 8-4, and they get in a bowl game, dude. When's the last time we looked at UCLA? First off, when's the last time they won a bowl game? Do you know? I mean, I know it's been a little while because I know they've kind of been on the line. Yeah. So I mean, they were in a good position to do something for their program in a bowl game today, but obviously that game getting canceled there, it just kind of sucks.
Right. Real fast in the comments, Chris, he said, hi, what's up?
What's up, Chris?
Also, Air Force, this was a good game. Air Force in Louisville, 31-28.
Yeah.
Give the win to Air Force in a doozy. What do you think about that one? That came down to the end, and that was definitely a nail biter. Ballard, I tell you, I didn't think it was going to be that close at the beginning. It looked like Air Force was about to beat the brakes off of Scott Strickland's Louisville Cardinals, but for whatever reason, Louisville got back in the game and made it a good one. Scott Shatterfield, my bad.
Yeah, no, I was going to catch you on that, but I didn't want to be the guy. Anyway, so Air Force scored late in the first quarter. It looked like there wasn't going to be much scoring in this one to start out, but with 2 minutes to go in the first, Hazik Daniels ran for he's the quarterback. He ran it in 5 yards on a 10-play drive for a touchdown. Then a 61-yard pass to begin the second quarter. Like Louisville's already turning it over and everything. Well, there weren't really any like turnovers. They just didn't score. There was no turnovers in this game at all. Like no picks, no fumbles, nothing like that. But Air Force got the ball back, 61-yard bomb to the end zone, 64-yard touchdown for Air Force after a 1-yard run by Travion Cooley. Pretty cool name there, the running back for Louisville. And, I mean, and, you know, for the most part, there was a series, you know, a little bit where in the second quarter, it looked like it was just going to be one of those slow shootouts, you know what I mean, where it's not automatic, but if you give them a little bit of time, they're going to take some minutes off the clock and they're going to get in this game and they're going to have a little bit of a shootout, a score fest. And it was kind of like that. Good defense in the third quarter, but with 4 seconds left in the third, a touchdown, 34-yarder Malik Cunningham to Tyler Harrell on a 5-play, 51-yard drive. And then the fourth quarter comes around, and to break, or not to break the tie, but to extend the lead, because it was 28-21 going into the fourth. Air Force kicks a 26-yard field goal, makes it a 10-point game. Louisville able to, answer on the next drive, a 70-yard drive with 6 plays. Malik Cunningham, the quarterback, ran it in 22 yards. But it just ultimately it came up short. Air Force got the ball back, killed the clock, and took it out with the win, 31-28.
Yeah, crazy stuff, right? I mean, Air Force, big win for them. How many games was it? Air Force won 9, 10, 11 games. They had a pretty good season. No, actually, they had like, what, 7, 8 wins?
They were 9-3 going into it. They won their 10th game today. Or this week, whenever this game was. And Louisville, I mean, I would say they had a pretty decent season. I mean, they went 6-6. They made a bowl game. I mean, hasn't Louisville had like 3-9, like just really bad seasons? So I mean, for Scott Satterfield or whoever to just kind of get this program together, I mean, I really do think some things might be looking up for Louisville, but I'll hold my tongue a little bit. I mean, maybe a 7-5, just a little bit of improvement next year Maybe. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think they got
But
to up the tune a little bit in Louisville, if you know what I mean. I mean, they've got to get better starting next year. I mean, yeah, this was disappointing. I mean, I know they barely lost, but at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. And I think they're expecting big stuff from Scott Shatterfield. But at the end of the day, Louisville still is underperforming, in my opinion, especially when the ACC's down. And, you've got to make some hay over there in the ACC when it's down, for sure. Got to take advantage of it.
for sure, man. Absolutely. Any other bowl games you got before we get into this next topic here?
I'm just real fast. I know there's a couple of games tomorrow, and of course, there's more Thursday. But two games I'm very interested to see tomorrow night, Wednesday night, is the Alamo Bowl, Oregon, Oklahoma. That's going to be a good one, and I can't wait to see Tennessee and Purdue on Thursday. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's some
That's
good
gonna
ones out there. I just can't wait.
be good. Yeah. So I saw something today on Instagram. I'm on social media a lot, and I follow quite a few college football accounts on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. But I saw something, and I got the picture here. Could we categorize the college football playoff teams? I mean, is that fair to do? Is it right? Bama, UJ, Michigan, Cincinnati, we get all that. But here from Red Cup, CFB, and Football Sideline overall, and let me take this banner off just real quick so we can see. But you have what they did was they categorized it based on position. And we're going to look at this, Uncle Boy, and we're going to give our thoughts on this. So they have Alabama with quarterback, Michigan running backs, Bama wide receivers, Georgia tight ends, the offensive line to Michigan, the defensive line to Michigan, the cornerbacks to Cincinnati, Bama with the linebackers, Bama with the safeties, Michigan with the kicking. They gave the jersey. How about them dogs, man? Your Georgia
Yeah.
Bulldogs get that. The helmet to Michigan, the coaching to Bama, the talent overall to Georgia, and the fan base to Michigan. They had me for a second, but I think they lost me at defensive line. I mean, would you put Michigan's defensive line over Georgia's right now? I mean, and if
Nah,
that's
that
the case,
defensive line's probably the best in college football. Those front seven, man, they're very hungry bulldogs. I mean, they're very tough to deal with. I think you have to be elite, and I think that's the only way to beat Georgia this year, and that's why Bryce Young is successful against the dogs this year. I don't think Michigan. No offense to Nate the Great and other people out here, I don't think Michigan has elite quarterback, but I think that defensive line's going to come ready for, to eat come Friday.
well, I'll also say this. I mean, you got to pick one. I would put the I would put Georgia for defensive line. And look, we're not saying Michigan doesn't have one because dang it, they do. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson and company, they got some players, but Georgia all year long has had it. And it's more so, like further than anybody else in college football. I would say though, maybe Michigan with the second best line or front behind Georgia. I think that's a fair thing to say, but I don't know about picking them to have the advantage in this game on the defensive front. I do have to give that to Georgia. Now, offensive line, fully agree. The running backs, they got a duo with Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins. It's incredible to see that. The Bama linebackers, shout out to Will Anderson. The safeties for Alabama, I mean, I'm kind of, I mean, I haven't been too high on our secondary. It's looked great at times. I like Jordan Battle. Are they category? That's what I think they're doing. Are they trying to base it off one player on our team?
Yeah, well, the quarterbacks for Cincinnati, they're pretty good. So I
Oh my
think,
gosh. I know.
yeah, it's up there, but I think Cincinnati's got the best.
Secondary, I mean, corner, I mean, whatever. I mean, if they're basing all of this based on one player for each team, like, oh, we got to give it to Jordan Battle in Alabama instead of, I mean, that, stop. I mean, the quarterback I could get, the tight end, but like when you get to the defense side of it, the cornerbacks, okay, I could definitely give that to Cincinnati. The linebackers, I mean, it's really has only been Will Anderson for Alabama, at least consistency with linebackers this year. They've had some guys up front though that kind of work like Phil Mathis or whoever, but I don't know, man. Overall, and let me take this down here. Coaching for Alabama, got to give it to Saban. Got to give credit to. I do like how Pete Golding has been a little bit more consistent. I liked hearing his presser this week and just overall his attitude going into this Cincinnati game. He's not taking Desmond Ritter or anybody lightly. The talent would okay. You're the Georgia fan. The tight ends for Georgia, Brock Bowers, McConkley. I might have to give them an A+ on that rating there for Georgia. The jersey, y'all got some good ones, but they got you also at talent. Are you gonna sit here and say y'all are the most talented team overall in these playoffs?
From what I've seen, I believe we are. You
Okay.
know, I believe we're the better talent team, but I think Georgia has maybe, and this is not a shot at Alabama. Okay, I think Georgia and Alabama has about the same amount of talent. The only difference is I think this is Alabama's down year, and Georgia and everybody's in their juniors and seniors, so they have a leg up, if that makes sense. So I would say overall talent goes to Georgia. Maybe at the end of the day, whoever wins the Natty, we'll see who's better, well coached. But
Oh, for sure.
you know, I think that's where, at the end of the day, that's why they put the talent goes to Georgia because of maybe that situation.
Well, I mean, also you got to think like we talk so much about Alabama's offense, but technically, if you're thinking about it, like we're only talking about Bryce Young. But then when we talk about the Georgia defense, we're not necessarily just talking about Jordan Davis or Adam Anderson. Like we're talking about the defense, like as a whole. So I mean, I can understand that, but I mean, if you're gonna give one of these teams the talent advantage, aren't you looking at complete on both sides of the ball? And do you really see like maybe it's not Bama or Georgia? Like, would you give a Cincinnati because of their defense and then also Desmond Ritter in the offense? Or would you look at Michigan? Like, which of these four teams, like on all, like both sides of the ball, would you trust to have a complete game in the playoffs? Because I mean, I know Georgia's got their offensive issues, and Bama's even got their defensive issues a little bit. Like, but is there a clear cut?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can give advantages to certain teams depending on who you're talking about, right? Of
Yeah,
course, defense to Georgia. You think Cincinnati is going to be balanced, but they tend to struggle more in the running game than they do the passing. So it's going to be interesting to see if Alabama's going to go with the ground game more come Friday. Look, I think it all depends at the end of the day who you're talking about, but I think all these teams are pretty good dang close. And, I think Cincinnati may have lesser talent and, may not be able to hang as much with the other three teams, but they're there and we're going to see how good they can be moving forward.
I think they could be pretty good. That's not me saying they're going to beat Alabama. I did pick Alabama to win this game, much like probably anybody else. But again, I'll say this, and I said this when Selection Day came around. I think for the first time in the playoff era, or the first time in a while, but anyway, like I think not only did they get the four best teams this year, but I think that it's also one of those ones where you kind of got to scratch your chin a little bit. You're curious because I think it could be a lot closer in these games and not a full on one sided affair like, oh, it's straight up Bama and Georgia. No, I really think that this will be more the competitive, like more so the competitive playoff that we've wanted to see for a while. I think this will be one of the more competitive years.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's going to be interesting, as long as this virus stays away. As
Yeah.
long as we can play our games and stuff, I think it's gonna turn out to be a really good one. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, man, for sure. Ugga boy, we pretty much took care of the what was I the topics for tonight. I mean, we looked at the categorized the CFB teams. We talked about that. We looked at the NFL, some crazy action and games going on. Do you have anything else for the people on this show tonight before we head out?
Well, we talked about it a while ago, especially it was said in the comments, but yeah, rest in peace. Look, uh, I cannot believe I can't believe Madden died, Mr. Madden, and it's a sad situation, but in life, we can only live so long. Our days are counted, and we just don't know when we're going to leave this earth. And he lived 85 years old, so what was he born? I did the math. 1936. That's a
Yep,
long time, man.
April 10th. That's a good milestone. That's a good um just yeah, I mean John Madden, they named the if I'm not mistaken, the NFL franchise video game after him, and he was just overall he was a goat, man. I mean, he was amazing.
Yeah, heck of an announcer too. I mean, I think in our days we remember him more, besides getting on YouTube here or anywhere else to remember him as a head coach. I think a lot of us remember him as an announcer, especially us young bucks, and but his legacy will always continue to live on, man. And I tell you, it's a sad situation. It really is, but he's in a better place, and we love you, man.
Absolutely. Rest in peace. He's in a better place with the Lord. And, again, I mean, it just, dude, we've lost quite a few celebrities and everything lately. I mean, that's just part of life. You're going to lose people. But, man, in the sports world, I mean, we're not, 2 years or whatever removed from Kobe Bryant passing and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
we're losing all these great players, coaches, announcers, just all these legends, man. And it's kind of heartbreaking. I mean, I felt pretty sad when I think last year Auburn's announcer Rod Bramlett passed away. I
Oh
mean, he was
yeah, that was tragic.
an amazing call. I mean,
Yeah.
he was an amazing announcer for the Tigers, and I mean, I kind of felt that. I mean, look, I don't, I laugh about Auburn, I joke about Auburn, but I mean, you never really. I mean, if you laugh because they lost their announcer, they lost. Shame on you, because I mean we're all people at the end of the day. We're all human, and for true sports fans, especially with a guy like John Madden, I mean, holy crap! I mean he was incredible, man, and we lost a legend today as NFL fans, just football fans in general.
Absolutely, and yeah, that was a sad moment. And you were talking about celebrities and stuff, and this is not football related, but I
Yeah.
know he was a sports guy. Everybody remembers the Fiddle Man, Charlie Daniels. Man,
Yes.
and, just the list goes on and on and on. But at the end of the day, they're in a better world. They're in a they're not suffering no more. And unfortunately, we are. But our time on Earth is not over yet. So. Until then, we get to enjoy some great college football.
Absolutely. Well, Ugga boy, this was a great show, man. Episode 2 of Two Man Pigskin. Just two, just crazy folks, and just getting on here, just talking football like we love to do, man. I appreciate you doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem, man. And you have a good night, and let's do it again.
Yes, sir. I'm a Bama fan. I say roll tide. Go subscribe to my boy Ugga boy.
Go Dogs.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We love you guys. Jesus loves you. Keep your head up. We hope you had a good Christmas. Happy New Year to you. God bless. And as always,
roll down tide.
roll tide. Ballard Sports Media checking out. See y'all.